Hello everyone, welcome to Marlin Chess Kids. Today I show the game played by Santiago and Ramesh Babu, and this beautiful game complete in only 16 moves. And let's see how the game played. The game starts with the pawn to d4, knight f6, c4, and here the black play e5. And this is called a Budapest Gambit. With in the early of the second move, the black sacrifice the pawn, and after this, the d takes e5, capture the pawn, and now the knight to g4. This knight is continue to attack the pawn at e5, and here the knight to f3 to protect the pawn, and after this, the black continue to play bishop to c5, and this bishop is attacking the pawn at f2 and will be checked the king and protected by the knight. And with this, the white structure will be in very trouble if the white do not prevent the diagonal attack of the bishop. Therefore, e3 was played, and now the black just continue to develop knight to c6. And here is the first 5 moves, and you can see that the position is equal, and now the black can capture back the pawn with only 1 knight protect versus 2 knights. So after this, the knight to c3 was played, and now the black go for a short castling. Then b3 was played, preparing the bishop to go to b2. After this, the knight g takes the pawn at e5. Then the knight captured again, and now the knight captured again e5. So now this knight will be in this center of the square and will be very active. After this, bishop to b2 was played, trying to move away the knight and able to attack the knight. And after this, the rook to e8 was played. Then bishop to e2. And now after this, a5 was played, and this is the first 10 move in the game. And in this game, the black idea is moving the rook from a8 to a6, then to h6, and finally black have the idea of sacrificing the rook at h2, and if the black castling the king side. And here at the move 10, the black has already planned to play a sacrifice idea at the move 10. So after this move, in the 11th move, the white go for a short castling, and you can see the game is still equal. Then the rook a6 was played, and after this, the king to h1 was played. So another suggestion from playing the king is you can move the knight to e4, and this will keep attack the bishop, and this will keep the upper hand for the white, and white will be slightly have an edge. So if you use the pawn to defend, then you just minify the piece by capture the bishop, and after pawn capture, then you can use f4 to attack the knight. And now the knight will be chased away from the center of the square, and with this, there will be not much threat from the black towards the white in this game. So in the actual game, king h1 was played, and now the rook to h8, and this will keep black in the better position. And now the white must prevent the queen to h4, and will be a complete winning for the black to play queen takes h2 and win the game. So after this move, the better move you can play is to move a knight to d5, And if the queen goes to h4, then the bishop can just capture the knight. And after the rook, the bishop at this move, after this you can move the h3 pawn to prevent the check. And if you capture the knight, then the rook will be able to capture it back. And now if you move the h3, then d6 can be played, and this bishop can just capture the pawn, and after a series of capture, the queen will capture and will be a beautiful checkmate. So now if the knight back to f4, then now the rook can come to g5, and you have the idea of attack the pawn at g2, and this you're able to capture and win easily. So if any move such as a pawn to a3, then you have a bishop capture. And now if you use the pawn capture, then the queen will just capture, and after the knight capture, the rook will capture and will be a checkmate. And if you don't capture the pawn and you move the bishop to g4, then the bishop will just capture and go for the open check. And now if the knight block, then the bishop will capture again. And here, if you capture, then the queen will capture and will be a checkmate. So if your bishop capture and you do not capture the bishop, let's say you move the king to g1, then you can just use the bishop to capture g2. And any move such as a queen to h5 to block, then you can just move a bishop to e4 and open check the king. And after queen block, then you just have a rook capture and we checkmate the king. And back to this position, if you move such as a bishop pawn to g3, then you can just use the rook to go for a sacrifice. Rook takes g3, and after the pawn capture, the queen will be able to capture, and now the bishop can just capture, and the knight capture, you have a rook capture it back, and it will be a checkmate. So you have many ideas to play at this move, and the best move will be the bishop capture. If you bishop capture, this bishop still control the diagonal, and if the knight capture, then the queen will be able to capture, and if the king move to g1, then you have a queen to h2 checkmate. So the rook h6 will have many ideas for the black to win the game. And in the actual game, after this move, the black play f4, and after this f4 is a tactical mistake, and with this the black win the game and checkmate in 5. I give a couple of seconds to figure out how the continuation of the black to play and win the game and mate in 5. Well, congratulations for those who found the answer, and for those who like to enjoy the show, here are the brilliant moves that the black play, and we have a rook sacrifice with rook takes h2 and check the king, and after check, you have the bishop to attack the pawn at e3 free and able to check the king if the king moves to g1. So after rook capture in the actual game, the king capture it back, and after capture it back, now the queen to h4 and check the king, and the queen also control the diagonal of prevent the king to come to the f2. So after king to g1, then the bishop just capture the pawn, and check the king. And now the king has complete no place to move, and the only way to play is to use the rook to block. And now the queen just capture, and the king need to move away from the check. And if the king move to h1, then you have just queen to h4, and this will be a checkmate. And now the king cannot move to g1 again. And the same if you move the king to h2, and you will have a queen to h4 checkmate. And again, the king cannot move to any of the square. So back to this position. And if you do not capture the rook, such as you move the king to g1, then after this you can just use the bishop to capture and check the king. Or you can just move the queen to h4, and the queen will just control the diagonal square, and the next move will be moving the rook forward to h1 and checkmate the king. So after the king do not capture the rook, the next move will be made in 2 with the queen to h4. And after this, your king cannot move to anywhere, as you see. And the only way to block is to use the rook. And if you use the rook to block, and you have just rook to h1, it will be a checkmate. And if you just capture the knight, then the rook to h1 will be a checkmate as well. And if you block with the g3 pawn, then the queen will just capture the pawn, and this also will be a checkmate, and the king has no place to move. And with this, thank you.